maybe in the last minute of your life, you want to be something more than a goddamn savage! Pronunciare mendaccio. Prego, socorro, automatus. Fearless rights, insanity. He wanted the games and seas. Whale one, forbidden sight. He searches under up the shadows and you like this? Oh, you like being food for the immortals?
What is happening, savages? You are listening to the voice of Immortal Coil, your oracle of whiskey mysticism. Fuck that band. Revolution is my name. And today marks the return of the savage. What's going on? It's good to see you guys, whether you are watching live or you are watching on the replay. We salute you. I'd like to give you notice that this channel is not for children. So put your little loved ones to beddy by and put your sensitive little critters back in their pants and back away from this broadcast. This channel will contain strong language, sensitive subject matter, images, and content intended for a mature, 18 years or older, audience. Viewer discretion is advised. This video contains copywritten content. However, under the Fair Use Act, Section 504C2, Title 17 of the United States Code, this content is presented for the purposes of education and entertainment through the use of parody, satire, critique, analysis, and/or, oh yes, social commentary by means of subjective opinion. It's been a while, my friends. I thank you for joining me. Right away, we got the lasso of truth. What is going on? We got Tommy and the Nibble at Your Toes Guinea Pig Collective. Welcome, my friends. Gather around the campfire. Let me talk to you about what's been going on, because it's been an interesting ride lately. But before we get to that, I would like to invite you to join me in the savage salute. Raise high whatever it is you are imbibing. Here is to us what is like us, not a goddamn thing. Tastes like freedom. Looks like Tommy is an exhausted pig. He's still waiting to sleep. Well, I appreciate you staying up for at least a little while longer. Tommy is the hardest working moderator in the Fandom Menace. Easily mod to 957 million channels, and he never misses a broadcast, even though he's been having internet trouble lately. He will dick slap the internet and leave a mushroom-shaped bruise on the fucking side of its face. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you for tuning in. We got a good show for you tonight. We're going to be reviewing a couple of things. We've had some deaths in the family. We've had some interesting entertainment, some actual entertainment come out of bullshit Hollywood. We have people conjecturing once again in Star Wars. And then we have some spiritual vandals, which I would like to expose for you guys. But before that, I'd like to welcome you back. I know it's been a little while. In a little while, it might also be in a little while because of the way that shit has been unfolding. Um, I recently defeated homelessness. I broke up with my woman, and she was gracious enough to give me a little bit of time to get my shit together to figure out an exit strategy and a place to go and all that kind of stuff. Um, I got that figured out. I will not have to live in my car, which is a great thing. I'd like to thank people like the author Stephen Walton. He was very generous when he didn't have to be. My new boss was very generous when he didn't have to be. All of you are very, very generous, and you don't have to be. Um, I'm one of those guys that don't like to go online, and you can catch me at Twitter, and you can catch me on Facebook and Instagram, and I got a Patreon out there that I haven't really been petting enough. It's probably hungry and it wants to bite my hand. But you guys have kept me going. I've been kind of like in chats and in different live streams, and it's been all right, but I still didn't feel like I can go live without having to drag everything that's been hurling behind me. Like when Neo is flying in the second Matrix and he's like trying to save Trinity and he's creating this huge vortex of all the shit behind him. That's how I felt. And I don't want to be one of those bitching motherfuckers who have a SAP story and a GoFundMe and all that kind of shit. And I'm not trying to cast shade upon people who do that. Some people, that's how they survive. My good friend Drew, he's in real bad trouble. He has a GoFundMe, and if one of you guys want to throw that link into the fucking mix, his mom passed, and he's like on the verge of losing his house and all kinds of shit. I'm not talking about guys like that. Guys like that truly need help, and help them if you can. I'm just talking about the people who just cry that they can't pay their fucking phone bill and they go online and expect you guys to wipe their ass for them. I'm a grown man. I'm capable of wiping my own ass, so I'm not going to ask you guys to. But I want you guys to understand why it's been a while and why in a little while it might be another little while. The solution that I've come across, I might not have internet out there. And I'll still be around because I'm on my phone and all that kind of shit. I still like retreat out of the woods and go to work and try to be productive. But it's one of those things that have you guys heard of the Maslow's pyramid of fucking needs? Like you have to eat, you have to sleep somewhere, and all this other shit before you can buy internet and whatnot. But that situation does provide some forward momentum and some impetus to get back to you guys. So until that move happens, I will promise you that I will do this on the weekly. Because one of the things that I notice is that, especially the people that I just highlighted, groups like that and fellows like that say that they genuinely love me. And that is something I'm not used to hearing, especially recently. So the fact that the voice of the savage, the voice of immortal coil, is something that is desired, is something that I have taken for granted, and I've allowed myself to get in this negative headspace that's kept me apart from you guys for far too fucking long. So once again, I'm going to raise it to you guys. Here's to us. What's like us? Not a goddamn thing. All right. So soliloquies and hyperboles aside, I do have a show to get to. So that's cool. I'm getting a lot of support in the chat. I love you guys too. You guys are probably the closest things that I have to family right now. And it's funny because most of you guys I've never met in real fucking life. I've just talked to you with my thumbs. You know what I mean? And when I'm not busy jerking off on the internet, you guys are right there for me. Right on the same words. Oh shit. Okay. Tommy says, Remember the words of the enema king Stephen Walton: we squat, we shimmy, but we do not kneel. That is fucking right. Lasso of Truth says he's trying to get us drunk. Of course I am. Every single chance I can get. If I get the chance to meet you guys, I will buy you all around. Vinny fucking Arts has smashed that like button. Vinny Arts a good guy too. He is shit. One of the core, right? One of the rogue core. Thank you for showing up, sir. We got a good show for you. Let's go ahead and let's get started. The first thing I want to do, if I may, is highlight this thing. And anytime this happens to somebody famous that I give a shit about, I try to go to these guys. This is Deadline. It's a little bit punny. Nichelle Nichols dies. Lieutenant Nyota Uhura in Star Trek was 89. Now I'm going to read the article, but my personal journey with Star Trek was interesting because my father tried to convince me to watch Star Trek back when I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. And I simply was too much of I was still a zygote. Like I didn't understand or appreciate what the fuck Star Trek was about. And to my mind, it was like slow and weird. And I thought it was not entertaining when I was 8 years old. I know that's probably why my dad like threw his hands up in disgust. And he's like, all right, go fucking listen to Michael Jackson or whatever the fuck was going on back then. It wasn't until I was like 12 or 13 and I started watching the next generation that I really figured out what Star Trek was about. And it blew my mind and it opened these doors and it taught me about like multiculturalism and an ideal future for the human race and all that kind of shit. And I wanted to go back and watch the original Star Trek, but unfortunately at that time, this was before the internet. This is probably like 1993, 94, maybe at the most. My dad had on tape on Betamax, and luckily we still had one. He had the Menagerie parts 1 and 2, which Uhura was not in, but having shown an appreciation for TNG, I went back and watched the Menagerie, and I was like, okay, this is primitive effects, of course, but this is good storytelling. This is shit that warrants a thought or two. And when I look back upon it, I think that that's one of those reasons why my father wanted to show it to me, because even at 8 or 9 years old, he wanted me to be a eventual man who thinks deeply about things. And even though I don't have monetary success, at least not yet, I do have that deep sense of searching the universe for meaning and providing inspiration and all that kind of stuff. Star Trek directly affected my personality in very, very serious ways. I would not be the man that I am with my balls swinging in front of you had I not seen that shit. And it's funny because Star Trek was like beautiful and savage and thought-provoking all in the same thing because it showed humanity to itself. So when someone like Nichelle Nichols dies, okay, she was one of the originals. She was one of the people who communicated those early stories to us that brought us so much hope and inspiration and all that kind of shit. So here's the Deadline article. This is written by Bruce Herring, July 31st, 2022. It's August 3rd, so you can see how long it's been. Deadline. Nichelle Nichols dead. Nichelle Nichols, who broke down barriers with her portrayal of translator and communications officer Lieutenant Nyota Uhura in the original Star Trek TV series and later in its film franchise, died Saturday night in Silver City, New Mexico. Holy shit, I've been to Albuquerque, and that's where fucking George R. R. Martin refuses to write his new book. He lives out there too. She was 89 years old. This image credit is Hollywood and Media Deaths and this image credit is Paramount. That's a bullshit link, and this is why I hate websites like this. They're garbage and they're filled with unnecessary links. I like Deadline a little bit better than I like other media sources, so that's just a bad placement. Editor of Deadline. Nichols' death was confirmed by Gilbert Bell, her talent manager and business partner of 15 fucking years. We got this related story where George Takei, this drama queen, Celia Rose Gooding, and William Shatner, among other stars, remembers Nichelle Nichols. Now, we're not going to take no side journeys at this point, but you can see that the falling of Nichelle Nichols really is reverberating around, and it's funny. Okay, I'm gonna kind of pontificate here on some things. The SJWs are gonna try to really use this to puff up the whole like diversity and representation and hee and ho ho ho. Well, you fucking cigarette smoking jokers. This is a case of actual representation and diversity and blah blah blah. Gene Roddenberry was one of those motherfuckers who was visionary and very much ahead of his time. Gene Roddenberry, I believe, was a World War II veteran, and he was one of those guys that served in the Navy and did all the shit that gathered him his experience of military expertise, right? That whole like archaic, subservient command structure, blah, 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 that the board talked about. He was also a fan of cop shows. He produced some and of Westerns. And you can see where Star Trek, the original, possessed a lot of those core components. But Gene Roddenberry also envisioned a future where the peoples of Earth came together. And we have a lot of cultural diversity. And I fucking hate that word has been made into what it means right now. Because you want to say it in its true form, and you can't help but associate it with all the shit that the SJWs want to tack on to it. I was at work earlier today, and I was plumbing. You know, like I drill holes and lay pipe. That's what I do for a fucking living. And I just so happened to be working with this dude who was playing a Alex Jones podcast. And there was some British motherfucker, and forgive me, I cannot remember his name. If one of you guys in the chat have seen this and want to drop his name, let me know. But they were talking about how in the face of defeat during a re-election cycle, certain political parties are trying to attach meanings to words and use words to obscure the truth so that the truth may not be wholly discovered, but it's talked about and it leaves a pathway open towards re-election. And that is a pile of horse shit. A big steaming, not even horse shit. It's that big fucking triceratops pile of shit. Remember that fucker that was like sick and laying on its side in the first Jurassic Park, and Jeff Goldblum walks past it and goes, "That's a huge pile of shit." That's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. Gene Roddenberry had a different vision, though. So all the cultures of humanity, after having fought the megaton battle of wars with all the possible weapons possible, nearly kills itself, but then somebody invents warp drive, a gentleman by the name of Zephram Cochrane. He goes and he takes a quick tour around the fucking star, and lo and behold, we have first contact. So not only do we have to get along with each other, but now we have to get along with the other inhabitants of the universe. I mean, our own local galaxy, but you get what I mean. And this is the value of Star Trek, because by the time that the first show happens, we have solved Earth's problems. We do work together and cooperate. And we do work alongside with extraterrestrials who are seen as equals, right? Every being is given due consideration. And we'll find this mirrored later on. But this is the kind of shit that, like, I had been too young to realize that my father was trying to communicate to me. And by the time that I did, I was just like, holy shit, my dad's been watching this for 30 years, right? So the article continues. A popular part of the principal players on Star Trek, Nichols shared one of the first interracial kisses in television history with co-star William Shatner. Yeah, that was I forget the episode, but they were being mind controlled and the aliens made them kiss in order to entertain themselves. We're going to see, this is like a bullet point fucking resume list here. Nichols also played Lieutenant Uhura by voicing her on Star Trek, the animated series, and appeared in the first 6 Star Trek films. The famous fan dance. I will drink to that. Yes, I will. Did I mention she was smoking hot? Jesus Christ. She was a curvaceous goddess wearing a mini skirt, showing her thighs in goddamn 1963. You know, how could we not fire off a 21 gun salute, which contains 21 million soldiers per shot? She became a lieutenant commander in Star Trek, the motion picture, and then a full commander in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Throughout, she was a powerful symbol for African Americans and a fan favorite in various projects. I will not dispute that fact. And this is the thing that really pisses me off about SJWs. They try to pretend that the 60s never fucking happened. They're trying to insinuate that everything that's going on now is the first time that any of these things have ever fucking happened. Ever. Ever, ever. And that's bullshit, because they want to justify their own existence. And another point of that Alex Jones fucking broadcast with the British guy that I still don't know his fucking name was that these people are like circling sharks, and they're continuously trying to find the fringe so that they can eliminate the people who don't fucking conform to their narrow vision. You know, there was a very funny interchange on that show about white gay Americans, and if they're on the Republican side of the field, they're basically honorary straight people. And that's fucked up, because you're going against your own kind just so that you have something to go against. And that's fucked up. It's kind of like back in the 90s when you weren't punk enough, then punks would punk you even though you met all their fucking requirements to a certain point. And even further back in the jazz age, right, if you had more than like 2 people at your show, you weren't underground enough. Like, you were too popular, and that's not what was cool, and blah blah blah. And it's bullshit, because it's just people who want to walk around and talk about how fucking rare or restrictive they are. They're like, yeah, you know, I don't like this and that because I'm just like, you know, my farts don't stink and I drive a Prius and blah blah blah. It's horseshit. You should be able to see those people a mile away for who the fuck they are. And I'm not gonna say go face fuck them, but I won't be upset if you did. The article continues. NASA later employed Nichols as a spokesperson to encourage women and African Americans to become astronauts. That's important. I will laud her for that. Dr. Mae Jemison, the first black woman to fly aboard the space shuttle, cited Star Trek as an influence in her decision to join the space agency. Nichols became the first African American woman to have her handprints immortalized at the TCL Chinese Theater. The ceremony also included other members of the original Star Trek cast. Okay. Born Grace Nichols in Robbins, Illinois on December 28th, 1932. December 28th would make her a Capricorn. Interesting. Nichols sang with Duke Ellington in a ballad she created for one of his compositions. Later, she sang with his band. Indeed, she was a Broadway star, singer, and dancer. Nichols appeared in Oscar Brown's 1961 musical Kicks and Go, in which she played a campus queen, Hazel Sharp. The play attracted the attention of Playboy publisher Hugh Hefner, who booked her at his Chicago Playboy Club. Now, I can't show this on stream, but there are nudes of Nichelle Nichols. And she wasn't quite as thick as she got on Star Trek, which I'm a fan of thickness. Don't get me wrong. I'm down with the thickness. But you can find them out there. She was a gorgeous woman. A gorgeous woman. And, William Shatner got the first on-screen interracial kiss, but I think many of us would have interracialed Nichelle Nichols in her prime. God damn, that deserves a toast. All right. Nichols had an extensive theater run, also appearing in the role of Carmen for a Chicago stock company production of Carmen Jones and performing in a New York production of Porgy and Bess. She had small roles in the films Made in Paris, Mr. Budwing, and the Sandra Dee vehicle Doctor. You've got to be kidding, before she was cast on Star Trek. In the early 70s, the actress appeared in the 1974 blaxploitation, I can't fucking pronounce that, film Truck Turner, starring Isaac motherfucking Chef Hayes, goddamn author of the Shaft theme song. She also appeared in a supporting role in the 1983 TV adaptation of Anthony and Cleopatra that featured her Star Trek co-star Walter Koenig. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I might have to watch that at some point. And she starred with Maxwell Caulfield and Talia Balsam in the 1986 horror sci-fi feature The Supernaturals. Nichols' voice work included the animated series Gargoyles, which a lot of Star Trek alumni voice acted in, again against Spider-Man. She also voiced herself on Futurama. The actress played the mother of Cuba Gooding Jr.'s lead character in the 2002 Snow Dogs and Miss Mabel in the 2005 Ice Cube comedy Are We There Yet? Nichols was married and divorced twice. She is survived by her son, Kyle Johnson. So there you go. Nichelle Nichols, dead at age 89, which is, it's one of those things. We know that these, all of our heroes are going to start dropping off. I think it's interesting that William Shatner is still kicking and he's around the age of 90, but he's been to space. It's too bad Uhura never got to go. So the chat, of course, is being silly. Tommy says the jazz age, not to be confused with jazz hands. Were they jazz handprints? Looked like it to me. Trina thinks I'm being bad. Stick around, sweetie. You haven't seen shit yet. Anyway, that's the first little thing that I wanted to share with you guys. Nichelle Nichols. It's crazy. And I feel this way every time like a TV star or, somebody like Bowie dies. You're just kind of like, holy shit, this fucker's that old. What the hell's going on? And like, what am I doing in my life? I have successfully, and I hold those in air quotes, reached middle age. And conceptually you can see both life and death from the middle point in the hallway. But is it going to be like the Doors song? I don't know. Check in and find out, right? So one of the things that I can't help but think about with the death of Nichelle Nichols, besides how much of a cunt George Takei is, this guy is constantly embarrassing himself on social media, is that we don't really have any good Star Trek anymore. Ever since J.J. Abrams rebooted the Star Trek universe in cinema, and I don't want to blame Spock for this. Leonard Nimoy sort of lent the gravitas for all of these events to line up, but he's also the reason that I have to dismiss this out of my head canon altogether. In the film, he time traveled and tried to talk to his younger self and kind of sold everybody on this. But since then, what have we really gotten? I mean, that first Star Trek film was okay on its own if you want to watch it in isolation, but nothing that's really come after that has been entertaining, not in the least. Star Trek Discovery, ugh. Star Trek Picard, ugh. And you got that clown Alex Kurtzman running the fucking show, hypothetically. Nobody gives a shit about that. And it's become so dark and so cynical and so self-involved that the show's not fun anymore. It doesn't make you think anymore. It's just like one of those like, well, I guess I feel like shit, so I guess I'll watch the show again. Who the fuck wants to feel that way? Who the fuck wants to leave a show that has the word Star Trek in it feeling like a pile of garbage? We got these showrunners and these people, and I fucking hate to say this, the principal actors. Now, this is the one that really, really disappoints me. I am on Twitter, which most of you probably know me from. And I follow quite a bit of the original, not original. I follow a lot of the TNG cast. And these are some of the most politically cynical fucks that I have ever seen. And for them to have portrayed characters of hope and vision and inspiration in my own personal life, that's the meaning of the saying, never meet your heroes, because they are bound to disappoint. Your heroes exist to inform your character, not for you to go and evaluate theirs, because if you do, you're always going to be sorry. Okay? I did meet Patrick Stewart once, and I wasn't disappointed. He was a gentleman. Okay, and I love Patrick Stewart, not just for Captain Picard, but he did a lot of good Shakespeare, and of course he was Professor X. Logan is one of my top 5 movies of all time. Very dear to my heart. I'm sure you've seen me cosplay as Wolverine. If not, head over to Instagram, check out the Wolverine sightings. You'll get a chuckle at least. But then I met Hwhill Hweaten once. Now, Hwhill Hweaten is a known twerp. He is a fish-faced fuckhead, and I am not impressed by him at all, especially when I see how he conducts himself. He's just, a lot of people during the TNG era had problems with his character because he was like this stuck-up goody-goody two-shoes fucking, I don't know, Fruit Loops eating asshole. He wasn't entertaining. He always saved the day with his science experiments. And I really tried to be open-minded when I grew up. And, maybe he was given a bad rap. Maybe he was like Jake Lloyd and, people just didn't get it. But no, Hwhill Hweaten was really like a fucking twerp. You want to hear about what happened when I met him? ... I met Hwhill Hweaten at the Emerald City Comic Con, and I have this mission. Like, I have like a season 3 DVD like fold out that I wanted to have signed by all the members of the principal cast, right? So far I have Picard, I have Michael Dorn, who I'll talk about in a second, and Hwhill fucking Hweaten, right? Hwhill Hweaten, I was behind these two girls in line, and they presented him with like this clay fucking glossy high school art project version of a Dalek that like you can open up and like there's a little Dalek inside. And he saw that shit and he goes, "Shut the front door." And it's just because these two girls were probably like I believe they're legal age. I can't tell that shit anymore. I don't know. But then they get out of line, they get his autograph, and I go up and I talk to him, and he acts like he's scared of me, like he thinks I'm gonna beat him up or something. And I'm not doing anything any different than I'm doing now, except I'm not, I'm not talking shit to him. I'm just kind of like, hey, my favorite episodes with you were The Traveler, and I was hoping you would sign this, and thanks for doing Star Trek. And like he's like, all right, thanks. And I'm like, what? I don't have tits, or what? I don't shave, or do I smell bad? I didn't smell bad. I bathed that day. But I'm just kind of like, all right, Wesley, shut up, Wesley. And I walked away. I met Michael Dorn, and he acted like he wanted to fight me. Like he just like gave me this like Mr. Worf fucking thing, and he signed my shit, and I walked away, and I was just like, what the fuck? I was expecting some sort of like, thanks for being a fan. And I even told Michael Dorn, I was like, look, you really helped inform my concepts of what being honorable is about, and what the responsibilities of a man are, and shit like that. And he just like looked at me with that Mr. Worf look, and he goes, "Thank you." And I'm like, all right, you're welcome, I guess, And Hwhill Hweaten didn't charge for a fucking autograph. Michael Dorn did. So what the fuck, guys? I should get my worth. Thankfully, in the absence of Star Trek, there is an alternative. And this, my friends, is a show called The Orville. The Orville. I really dug this show. New Horizons is the current iteration of The Orville. And I think it's still going on. Like, for some reason, I thought I had missed the entire fucking, they're losing their shit. Tommy says, Wheaton. Lasso of Truth says, I feel about Star Trek being ruined about how all you guys feel about Disney Star Wars. Indeed. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And they're trying to tell us that we're old and irrelevant and all this kind of shit. They're trying to tell us that our opinions don't matter, when really fans of our, how do I say this? Classic fans of our age, fans that grew up with this shit, are the only ones with disposable income, and the people that they are catering to don't even care about their show. They just want to toot some horns and continue to be troglodytes, I guess. But now we got the Orville, a show that I thought was finished, and it actually got some new legs, and it's still in production. Like, they're still releasing. I think they have one more episode this coming up week, and this is true fucking Star Trek, and it's crazy to have to say it that way. I sat and binge watched 8 episodes of the Orville, and I will tell you what, I went through every possible emotion with I don't know. There were moments where I felt happy. There were moments where I felt sad. There were definite moments where I felt a father's justified rage. And I'm the father of a 9-year-old girl. And I saw some shit go down in one of these episodes that aroused that anger in me. Like I was like shaking and I was making a fist and I was frowning and I had tears in my eyes watching this shit because I imagined what I would want to do had similar circumstances happen, and God help me if similar circumstances ever did. But when I saw the payoff on the screen, I was just like, yeah, you fucking go do that. I don't want to spoil this thing because I want you guys to go and look at it. The Orville New Horizons is the best recent thing that I've seen. Because I mean, shit. I mean, I saw Top Gun and I thought it was good, but Top Gun doesn't satisfy me the same way that something like the Orville does. Because frankly, I don't want to be alive right now. I feel like I was born like too early for the shit that I wanted to do, and I feel like I'm too old for the shit that's going on now. You know, the only recourse I have is to bitch at a fucking microphone on the internet. You know, it's very frustrating, but I also feel like on a soul level, I probably lobbied very hard to get here at this stage in human evolution because there's something that I can possibly do for you guys, planet Earth, that nobody else can. So you're lucky, motherfuckers. um, this season also had a very good time travel episode, and it's really hard to make time travel Star Trekian uh, stories because a lot of them have been done to death, and a lot of them have to do with don't fuck up the timeline, and this one certainly was, but it was like a guy who went back in time and he was stuck there, and he called for help and nobody came, so he tried to make a life for himself, and then they showed up too late. So that's another really good episode in the series. And then the last one that I saw was about former enemies coming together to, number one, in the face of I can destroy you, like I have the atomic bomb. And it's more like if the United States went to Japan and nuked one city and then said, we could do this to your entire fucking country unless you come and help us stop Germany. Except events played out differently in our world history. That was really good too. So the Orville, I also have to shout out the Orville Nation. He's on Twitter. You can go and watch, or excuse me, you can go and talk to the Orville Nation. He has his own Twitter account. He's a good guy. I've talked to him a little bit. We're not like best friends or nothing, but he helped me consume this in a way. And that's all I'm really about to say about that. So we do have some interaction in the chat. Tommy says the new season of the Orville, he's choked up. He goes, he's not feeling it. It's not the same show from the first 2 seasons. I don't care if the whole world says yes, I will whisper no. Hey, that's all good, Tommy. And I also want to touch on this. There are players in our chats who aren't, I don't know, it's like they're not fair to other people who have different opinions of other people. It's not Tommy. Tommy's a stand-up motherfucker. He's a straight shooter, shoots from the hip. He's a good guy, but he just disagreed with me. I'm not going to just ostracize him because of that. I'm not going to be like, fuck you, Tommy. I like the Orville, and if you don't like the Orville, then I'm going to take my truck and go home. No, that's his fucking prerogative. I was moved by the Orville. Tommy was not. That's cool. Maybe if you guys have the means to watch it, you let us know how you feel about it. That's how this thing works. You dig? You dig. Lasso Cheer says Top Gun Maverick was fucking good. So fucking good. I really enjoyed it. From the first moment to the last, yes. You know, you hear the music come on, you see the fucking things that go down. The Admiral daughter is there. You know, what's not to love? Iceman's there, kind of. Maverick's still like trying to be a Billy badass, but he finally figures it out. He has some like sword fighting that he does with Goose Jr. I really dig it. It's good. Um, let's see here. Okay, so that's the Orville. Take it or leave it. Okay. The next thing that I have is one of these things that uh stretches things, and this really like pissed me off. I actually kind of want to make like a regular video about this, like a whatever, a 10-minute video. But it's this bullshit that Obi-Wan Kenobi is supposed to be bisexual now. What the fucking shit is this? You know? Obi-Wan Kenobi, famously portrayed by, you know, Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor, some twerpy motherfucker wrote this book that said that he's supposed to be bi now. And that's really not what he said. That's just what the media is making of this. Okay. We will go through what the book says and what the media is trying to say about it and try to make some sense out of it. You know what I mean? This is from Bounding into Comics, one of the more trustful rags, I would say. My buddy Supreme Heretic sometimes writes for them. He hasn't in a while, but you can find his shit on there. This is by Spencer Baculi, July 25th, 2022. It says, New Star Wars. New Star Wars. Padawan prequel novel implies Obi-Wan Kenobi is bisexual. Now, the word bi does appear in his name twice, but that does not mean that he's bi. So what the fuck are we getting at here, people? And the latest example of Disney's almost fetishistic desire to both retcon Star Wars continuity and lazily identity swap the numerous classic pop culture icons that have come under their ownership in recent years. The upcoming prequel era novel, Star Wars Padawan. Star Wars Padawan. Features a moment which implies that Obi-Wan is bisexual. That's not what implies, but read on, people. God, there's a lot of advertisement on here. Where's the fucking article? This is a quote. Obi-Wan Kenobi really wants to be a good Padawan, reads a synopsis of a novel provided by the official Star Wars website. The best Padawan, even. But that's feeling more and more impossible with his new master, Qui-Gon Jinn, who's a fucking asshole. Qui-Gon Jinn is all beardy, and he's like a dad, and he's like a cis male. I just threw that part in. All of Obi-Wan's friends are off training to be real Jedi. Real Jedi! Getting mission experience while he's still on Coruscant, goddammit, practicing his forms and sitting in silent contemplation. Silent contemplation. Ever since Qui-Gon's former master Dooku left the Order, Darth Dooku. Yes, join the Sith, Dooku. I always hated that name. It's like Count Poo Poo. You know, come on, George Lucas. You could do better than that. Ever since Qui-Gon's former master, Dooku, left the Order, it feels like Qui-Gon has been too busy trying to connect with the Force or arguing with the Jedi Council to properly train his Padawan, it continues. When Obi-Wan finally
convinces Qui-Gon to take him on a mission to a remote planet once explored by an ancient Jedi. His master doesn't show up the morning they are to leave, so Obi-Wan impulsively takes off by himself.
Fuck, what if Qui-Gon was taking a shit? Cannot a Jedi Master even shit? I ask you, my savages, what the fuck is this shit? Who the fuck's gonna read this anyway? I'm not gonna read it. This is just fucking detritus. The synopsis concludes,
upon arriving on the mysterious, lush planet.
a mysterious, lush, bisexual planet. Planet Bi. It's the second one in the system. It orbits 2 stars. One star's like pink and the other one's blue. And this star has like 2 main continents. There's 2 kinds of people there. It's either you're one of these or you're one of those. You know, it's that kind of a planet, really. He encounters a group of teenagers with no adult supervision. Uh-oh. And who all seem to have some connection to the Force. To the Force. Free from the constraints of the Order, Obi-Wan joins them in their daring adventures, but the Padawan side of him keeps questioning the teens' strange relationship to the Force and to the verdant planet around them. Verdant. Okay. Here's where Bounding into Comics is going to try to sound smart again. They use the word verdant.
And what all of it might mean to its future. Obi-Wan will test the limits of his relationship to the Jedi and to the Force in this exciting yet soulful exploration of one of Star Wars' most enduring heroes.
Do you hear the music, the language that they're trying to use to milk this thing? I really hope they include the excerpt because I read it and it's horseshit the way that the media is spinning it. The article continues. Though the Padawan is set to officially hit shelves July 26, copies of the book began to sprout up in public at least 4 days prior to this official release. With the novel in hand, eager readers soon discovered that the novel featured a scene which saw the future Jedi legend question his sexuality. No, it really didn't. Considering the possibility that he is either bisexual or asexual, somebody who has little or no interest in sex after being hit on by a male ally. Okay. Oh, here we go. We got a copy of that shit. As shared by Twitter user at Ewan's Obi. July 22nd, the moment occurs during a rhetorical discussion on love and romance between Obi-Wan and one of the aforementioned teenagers, Castle. Taken back by the latter's warning that another of the teenager is not romantically available, Obi-Wan informs Castle, I can't form attachments like that anyway. What are you guys saying? Disney's new song is a grooming on a Sunday afternoon. Tommy, you need your own fucking stand-up special. Lasso's dying. Yeah. Let's read this book together, shall we? Why don't you guys tuck yourselves into bed? Immortal Coil's going to read you a bedtime story. Oh, God. I need a drink. Okay. This thing goes, oh, I know. Obi-Wan smiled at the warning, touched that Castle didn't want Obi-Wan getting his hopes up. I can't form attachments like that anyway. Couldn't he, though, if he didn't go back? Was that something he would even want? It had always seemed so forbidding. Even thinking about it was like holding his hand right next to a lightsaber blade. He knew some of his friends had dabbled in the physical relationships. He suspected Siri, which either sounds like your phone assistant or a raging hot porn star, would have been open to it had he ever wanted to, but it had always seemed like an obstacle, not a temptation. Now this, I guess I should get to the end of the passage before I pontificate, but so far, it doesn't sound like Obi-Wan wants to kiss this guy. He's just saying, like, in general, Jedi can't get physical. And besides, Obi-Wan said, rushing to change the subject for himself more than anyone, I would never want to be in a relationship with a leader. Too close to politicians or royalty. I'm sure if I ever fell in love, it would be with someone calm, peaceful, easy to get along with. And then I guess this is the guy that's Castle.
So you want someone who doesn't challenge you?
Obi-Wan laughed. Then he shrugged. I don't know what I want if I were being honest. Okay? So Obi-Wan, to me, so far it sounds like Obi-Wan got hit on by a guy, but he doesn't want to tell the guy that he's not into guys. Which, I don't know. You know, I'm not like a bad looking guy. I'm not like a great looking guy, but I've been hit on by guys. And in the times where I was hit on by guys, I wasn't like trying to dance around the subject. I was just kind of like, look, you know, I like women. Nothing against you. You're a nice guy, I suppose, but you know, you try to let them down so that they're not devastated and that they're not ashamed of themselves for like stretching out and trying to see if you might be in their fucking dating pool. And this is kind of what it sounds like Obi-Wan's doing in my estimation. Okay. Castle mirrored his shrug.
Not many choices around here. I don't think love is in my future either, and I'm fine with that, as long as I have the power to keep my family safe.
Which is probably what he calls the Force.
That's enough for me, though I will admit I've been curious about kissing and why Alge and Zabri enjoy it so much. So if you're ever curious too, let me know.
Obi-Wan blushed. Now, why did he blush? The article's going to insinuate he blushed because he kind of wanted to do it, but I'm thinking he blushed because it was awkward. You know, sometimes your body just like does weird shit when it's awkward. You get a nervous laugh or you tear up or whatever the fuck your body does when it's emotional. You know, because we're animals. We're all animals. Doesn't mean we want to fuck animals of our same gender. And if you do, that's not a big deal. I don't give a shit. I don't think anybody in the chat gives a shit. I don't think anybody watching this gives a shit. Obi-Wan doesn't seem like he's really in favor of this, if you ask me. Obi-Wan blushed. I will. Let you know, I mean. Not that I will do that right now with you or with anyone. Which is an honest answer. Truthfully, if you stick to canon, Obi-Wan didn't feel romantic towards anybody except the Duchess Satine, and she appeared in Clone Wars, right? And she was mentioned kind of in Rebels and shit like that, but that's the closest Obi-Wan came to romantic attachment. And Obi-Wan was very much I don't want to say the perfect Jedi, but he's damn fucking close. He stuck to the code. He was talking to Qui-Gon Jinn. If you just followed the code, you'd be on the fucking council, motherfucker. You know? So for this thing to insinuate that he's bi, Lasso of Truth, is this book canon? This book is being published by Disney. It's coming out. I do believe they are intending for it to be canon, but I don't think it's going to be successful. I don't think anybody's going to buy this thing. And truthfully, I said buy this thing. Truthfully, I think this book is going to die a slow death and be largely forgotten. I think that Disney, and not bounding into comics necessarily, but Disney hires media outlets to do their PR for them. And if they can kind of generate controversy and be like, well, maybe Obi-Wan wanted to tickle some pickles, some people would go out and buy the book. But that's kind of what I've been contending this entire time. SJWs argue for their concept of social justice, but they will not pay to support social justice. We saw that recently with that Reva lightsaber. You remember Drunk 3PO was talking about that. I think Ryan Cannell was talking about that, where, you know, Reva was touted as like the first black fucking person to ever be in Star Wars ever. fuck you, Disney. And they did this Hasbro crowdfunded thing that needed like 5,000 backers minimum to go into production. They only got just about 1,000, maybe just a little bit more than 1,000, and it died a slow death. And now they're not talking about that anymore. You know, Disney does this kind of shit. So yeah, I think it's going to be canon, but I don't think that it's going to matter, and I don't think anybody's going to think about this longer than 6 weeks, maybe. Oh shit, we got Bone in the house. Look at that. How the fuck are you, Bone? He says, sup. Bone says he's doing better. He's going to be stuck in the hospital another couple days. Shit. Well, you guys, you go around, you give him a bouquet of the shit he likes. Let's see here. It says it kind of talks about what I just read, you guys. Okay, so we have a little bit more of an excerpt here. I need to read the last line. Would he ever get to a point where kissing somebody felt like anything less than a betrayal of himself or the Jedi? And if he did go to that point, who would he want to kiss? The Lenarens were confident and charismatic, which was attractive, but he couldn't imagine just kissing any of them. And he said any of them. Maybe he didn't want to be with any of them, but rather to be more like each of them. Okay, that sounds a little bit more honest. That sounds a little bit less spinny when we review the author's work. Or maybe he wanted to kiss all of them. Not Mem, though, because he had a feeling that that would upset her very much. Okay, so it sounds like Obi-Wan is probably like 14 or 15. He's feeling that rush of hormones, but he's a Jedi, you know, so Jedi are supposed to compose their intellects past the urges of their own physical bodies, at least in that generation, right? Luke had Mara Jade and Leia had Han Solo and blah, blah, blah. But that's far in the future. He wasn't going to kiss any of them regardless. Everything on Lenara seemed simple and felt impossibly complicated, and that would doubtless make it all worse. When can we start this harvest? Obi-Wan shouted. Oh, God, that's terrible. I am never going to read this book. Never. I'm not even going to search it out. If they turn it into a comic book, no. This is just terrible writing. Notably, and this is what's important, this vague hint that Obi-Wan is either bi or asexual is yet another example of modern Hollywood's using the absence of evidence. Expect to see the defenders of this abrupt change likely arguing that this moment could still make sense to the character, as he never outright denied his attraction to men or was being seen physical with either Siri or Satine Kryze. Satine's the one, Duchess Satine, right? To confirm an established character as a surprise member of the LGBTQ community, in order to virtue signal to the most vocal sects of social media progressives. Spot on. Spot on. This author is observant and intelligent. Here we go in the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show, where he actually, Duchess Satine, who you see dying, killed by Darth Maul, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, they actually changed the words that they love each other. And that Kenobi probably would have rethought his path had he known that earlier. You know, but this is kind of like the Anakin and Padme that agreed to not get married. The article concludes, recent examples of the same technique being used to the same end can be seen in the recent bisexual reimaginings of DC's comics John Kent. Marvel's comic book incarnation of Star-Lord and the MCU's version of Loki. Yeah. So basically what we're seeing here is that there is an attempt on behalf of these mainstream fucking, I don't even want to call them creators because they're not creative. They're not creating anything that's entertaining. But they want to reach out to an audience that is not there and that does not pay and that does not really care about the direction of the story far beyond that swimming circle of sharks that I spoke about earlier. The fringe groups always try to find the outward boundaries of the fringe and then try to invent a way that they're not conforming to the ideals of the group think. And then they ostracize their own, they devour their own. It's a never ending cycle of bullshit. And I'm glad that you and I, the people listening to this fucking broadcast, we can see past that. And that's why we don't participate in that. That's why we point and laugh at that. And that's why ultimately we will create our own platforms of entertainment. You know, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but like Eric July just had a massive success creating his own shit. And there's so much pushback against that, despite the fact that a black man is being successful. What the fuck? Now, I'm not going to, I mean, I thought about buying that comic for like an investment principle, but like I'm not really interested in that so far. But we'll see. It's a young idea. We'll see what happens. Okay. My grand finale is this thing. This is one of those things that, sure, it's controversial. Sure, it's one of those things that was probably made for attention, but it's this deal where the Georgia Guidestones were blown up, or at least some of them. Oh my God, this is a garbage tier thing. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, this is surveillance footage of the Guidestones being blown up. Let me get rid of these ads. Can I get rid of these ads? God damn it. Oh, that's so messy. We gotta watch a fucking water ad. What the fuck is this? This is goddamn Washington Post. This is why I don't really go here for that. Boom. This is surveillance footage of the bomb going off at the Georgia Guidestones. There's the car that allegedly contained the people that did that, and here's the aftermath. There were 4 Georgia Guidestones, and then there was a diamond-shaped capstone at the top. So one of them got destroyed, and I think they went in and destroyed the rest out of safety, which is terrible. Now, whether or not you agree with what the Georgia Guidestones say, this is an act of vandalism against a work of art. Okay, that's in Kentucky. That's no longer Georgia. Decepticons Cave of Villains. King Decepticon himself. Hail, Coil. Hail, my friend. I will take the savage oath with you. Okay. This is the final article of the night. This is the one that got the thumbnail, the one that hopefully drew you guys in. This article by the Washington Post, Amy Chang, July 7th, 2022. 3:51 a.m. So that's how long I've been away. Granite monoliths inscribed with cryptic messages were blown up in rural Georgia early Wednesday, leaving behind a legacy of mystery that stretches from their origin to their destruction. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, said, quote, unknown individuals detonated an explosive device around 4 a.m., destroying a large portion of the Georgia Guidestones. The structure, which has been dubbed America's Stonehenge, originally consisted of 4 19-foot granite slabs, a center stone, and a smaller block capping the top. The video footage released by law enforcement shows a car leaving the scene shortly after the blast, although the GBI did not specify whether the driver was connected to the incident. Later in the day, authorities demolished the whole monument, citing safety reasons. Now, I wonder about that, and I wonder if they're going to talk about the contents of the monument, but we will see. So this kind of thing that we're going through right now is sort of along the lines of what I talk about with Drew Supreme Heretic on our Sunday night show, the Midnight's Prism. Okay, and now it's our Spooky Sunday show, and it's one of those things where we talk about UFOs and cryptids and, you know, vortexes and ley lines and just fucking weird shit that I'm into. And Drew came up with the concept. He's like, hey, I need a crystal skull on the panel. I was like, I'm there for you, brother. So you can come and see us there. Lasso says, not all art should be revered, though. Correct. Art is one of those things that should be shown to ourselves. And you can say something like Leonardo da Vinci, he created the Vitruvian Man. That's a true work of art. You might, I mean, this is going to be gruesome, but like Ed Gein made masks out of women's faces. That might be considered art, but it's fucking gruesome, and it also shows us something about ourselves. So some things you could pursue, some things you should pursue, some things you should not. Don't make masks out of dead women's faces, is what I'm saying, but he fucking did it. It was made by his hands. What the fuck? Okay. So, the article continues. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said unknown individuals detonated an explosive device around 4 a.m., destroying a large portion of the Georgia Guidestones. The structure, which I just fucking read, the enigma of the Guidestones, located in Elberton, a city roughly 110 miles east of Atlanta, that calls itself, quote, the granite capital of the world, can be traced to the late 1970s. 1979, according to my research. Around that time, a man identified as R.C. Christian. And I don't know if they're going to go into Rosicrucians in this article, but that's what supposedly the initial stands for, Rosicrucian Christian. Commissioned the project on behalf of a group of out-of-state Americans who wanted to remain anonymous, according to the Elberton Granite Association, a trade group. People who knew Christian's real identity took an oath of secrecy that has not been broken, and that's another reason for Rosicrucians. The Guidestones funders wanted to make, quote, moralistic appeal to humanity, according to the trade group, and etched 10 guiding principles onto the stones. The multilingual manual for humanity has been a popular spot for visitors over the past 4 decades. The instructions, repeated in 8 languages on the 4 upright slabs, are largely uncontroversial. They urge humanity to protect nature and care for fellow citizens, but 2 entries raised eyebrows. And these are the ones that I'm sure the people in the chat are sounding off against. They urge humanity to protect nature and care for fellow citizens, but 2 entries raised eyebrows. They called for the world's population to be capped at 500 million and encouraged reproduction to improve fitness and diversity. there were some 4 billion humans alive at the late 1970s. Okay. Now, here's where the jump off point is for most people. That sounds very much like a New World Order thing. The New World Order is very notorious for wanting a reduced population, and that's in order to control. Okay, that's a cabal thing. Breeding for reproduction and human fitness. Those things are debatable, but I don't know. Like, do you want your kids to be fat pieces of shit? I don't know. These are very complex questions that one of the other things in the Georgia Guidestones was that international things should be solved in an international court. So I think that this is a group discussion for humanity at large. And the fact that these Guidestones brought these questions to the forefront could say that it served its purpose. But the people that destroyed it did so because they were against it on moral or religious grounds, you know? And should we destroy things that we disagree with? I guess that's the central question here. We got Lasso of Truth saying there's no diversity with a small population. And see, this is the thing that kind of raised my eyebrows. With a population of 500 million or less, it would be too easy to control us. Now, I'm not saying that we need 9 billion motherfuckers, but I'm not of the opinion that the Guidestones were for favor of killing, you know, it said it was 4 billion at the time. I don't think they were in favor of killing 3.5 billion people. From what I understood, the Guidestones were meant to withstand a feared apocalypse where humanity would kill itself and the remnants might possibly come across it and see it and be like, hey, that might be a good idea. Let's do that. You know, granite specifically has been used in ancient megaliths, which dwarf this thing. This thing is dwarfed by. Okay, things like Stonehenge and pyramids, which were also made out of granite, and even Coral fucking Castle, which is another modern megalith built by Ed Leeds Scalman in Florida, can possibly withstand the ravages of time and still be read and all that kind of shit. Now, weathering and blah, blah, blah. But there were so many languages present at the Georgia Guidestones that its message should have been theoretically able to stand in perpetuity. Except whoever drove away in that fucking quick-ass car denied the future. You know, and then the state of Georgia denied the future. And it's also one of those things, if the state of Georgia wanted it demolished, why not blame it on a domestic terrorist? Oh, we'll never find him, but I guess we got to get rid of the rest of it so it doesn't fall on someone else's head. Lasso says the people that commissioned these stones probably were in the Bilderberg group. They may well have been. If it was a group of privately funded American individuals, I wouldn't put it past them. Wasn't there some message that couldn't be translated? No, I think it was that they placed it into languages that were uncommon, because there were like the 8 most popular current spoken human languages, but then it was translated into like Egyptian hieroglyphics and Akkadian cuneiform and, you know, shit like that. But it was also like precisely aligned with the sun and with Polaris and with the cardinal points and all that kind of shit. So they really tried to do the ancient monument thing in modern times, and just somebody said fuck that. Somebody said fuck that. Right-wing conspiracy theorists, and I fucking hate that word. Right-wing conspiracy theorists such as InfoWars founder Alex Jones have seized on the edicts as proof of a nefarious globalist scheme. And that's how they're going to try to paint perceptions like the one that Lasso just threw out there. Okay, she's asking an honest question. She's making a hypothesis. This sounds like something the cabal might do. But then articles like this come along and call it right-wing conspiracy. Fuck you, Washington Post. Can't you just report the news without interjecting editorialism? I don't think you can. That's why you're a bullshit rag. That's why no one reads you. And that's why people like me read you to make fun of you to my audience. In a 2008 documentary, he pointed to the granite slabs as evidence that global elites were plotting to enslave most of the world. During the coronavirus pandemic, misinformation circulated that linked the emergence of the virus to the guidestones. I don't know about that. I haven't read anything about that. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican Georgia, who has spread and supported unfounded. And again, that's unfounded conspiracy theories. How do you know that? Why are you making a link to that? Why are you publicizing that? Unless you want to make her look like a piece of shit. If she's going to be a piece of shit, her actions will dictate that she's a piece of shit. They don't need you to say, she might be a piece of shit. It would be self-evident. Fuck you again, Washington Post. She told Jones in an interview Wednesday that the monument represented a future of, quote, population control as envisioned by the hard left. Did the hard left make that monument? Did the right make that monument? Maybe there's a power beyond left and right. Who knows? Quote, there is a war of good and evil going on and people are done with globalism, she said, adding that she would wait with the results of the investigation. I am done with globalism. I will agree with that. There is a war of good and evil, but good and evil are... those are polarizing points that exist when everybody's fucking consciousness, right? They're not static things that everybody always agrees on. Good and evil are values that shift. What's good on the Indianapolis 500 might not be good on the public fucking sidewalk. We have to understand those things. But there is a way towards global governance that does not result in tyranny. And the pathway towards that, it's probably the most arduous human endeavor in history. You know, there's just so many of us with so many different ideas of how shit should go. But if you think about the story of the Tower of Babylon, let's create language and disperse the populace so that they can't communicate with each other and they can't unite against us and build a tower that reaches the heavens. That's a real thing, motherfuckers. The Guidestones also got to mention in the state's GOP gubernatorial primary this year. Educator Candace Taylor, who finished a distant third to the victorious incumbent Brian Kemp, pledged to dismantle the monument and fight the, quote, Luciferian cabal that she suggested was behind it. On Wednesday, she called the Guidestones, quote, satanic, applauded the destruction, and alluded that the incident might be an act of God. I think it's more politically motivated. Despite the controversy, many Elberton residents are proud of the Guidestones. The city's mayor, Daniel Graves, said the monument attested to the exemplary craftsmanship of local masons. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, quote, there is only one community in the world that can build such a monument, he added. So, there we go. This fucker was blown to shit. You know, and it's one of those things. I don't think that I think that the makers of the Guidestones wanted them to survive apocalypse, but I don't think that they counted on the modern times that we live in where people are so passionate and divisive in their approach to philosophy. I know that if you go out on the internet somewhere, you could probably read what the fuck the Guidestones actually said and decide for yourself what kind of a person you want to be. I personally do not believe that we need to be managed at a population of 500 million. I believe that the planet could support billions and billions, but we have this disproportionate thing where we're not sharing with each other. And I'm not saying socialism or communism. I'm just saying that there's a basic lack of humanity. And if we think back upon the broadcast where we're talking about Star Trek and Orville and shit like that, the means of material production belong to a few, and the people who demand material are many. So I think we should concentrate on things like matter replication. That would be a great thing. If we just had a fucking thing on the wall that we could walk up to and press and say like chicken and biscuits, and then we get it. Or if we can press it and say, I need a 2x4, or if we can press it and say whatever, then we have the means to take care of ourselves. The thing is that we'd never be allowed that, at least not with the way that the world is currently structured and the way that the people who are behind the puppet strings currently think. Bone and Tommy both fucking tapped out. And you know, it's been a good show. We're about to wind down, and I want to thank everybody for watching. Again, I haven't done this in a little while. I'm going to try to do this until I can't anymore because I'm going to be fucking off to the woods for a little while. My internet signal will be shit. I'm not sure that my phone will even work, but I will be in touch. So, from all of us here to all of us out there, let us lift our glasses one last time in the savage salute. Here's to us, what's like us, but not a goddamn thing.